Hello everyone, I'm Swati Lakshmi. Today I'm here to kickstart our very first podcast. It is called Security Beyond the Buzz. Here we'd like to invite our very first guest, Shashank Kumar, who is the founder for Shields, and he has decade-long experience in cybersecurity, where he started exploring cybersecurity in his school time, and then did bug bounty hunting, bug bounty research across multiple platforms, and gained achievements like Hall of Fame in many popular companies including Google, Microsoft, Zynga, Nokia, while reporting many high and critical vulnerabilities to them. So after that, he started with his own firm called Shields, which is working on building a tool called solidityscan.com, where it will scan for smart contract vulnerabilities and recommend any mitigations for that. So please welcome our guest for today, Shashank Kumar.
Sure, I will just elaborate to what you said. So, yeah, initially I started with bug bounties because that was the only thing back then in 2013. Bug bounties was the only way for security researchers to, do it as a, as a financially paid and, a reputable kind of job. So I did bug bounties for a major part of my life, starting at the age of 14, actually, when I found my first bug in Google in 2013. So I was there on almost every quarter. But that time, bug bounty was very limited. So it was there for hardly like 7, 8 companies that time. And slowly it was expanding. So I continued in bug bounties. But when I joined college, I was also working for a company called Deriv. It was a derivative marketing, derivative trading company, basically. I was an internal security researcher, and I used to internal pen tester as well. And apart from that, I used to pen test for Cobalt, which started their pen test model where you get instead of being paid per bug, you are paid for like a salary or something. You can say for a contract, for a 14 days contract, and finish with as many bugs as possible, or even if no bugs, you still get paid. So I started doing that. And after college, I joined HackerOne as a security analyst. There, in very simple terms, my work was to triage bugs for companies. And and after that, I was always interested in this, new technology of blockchain and everything. So I was trying to move into Web3 security and trying to understand how smart contract works, how blockchain works. I found really good vulnerabilities, which worked with a company called Avalanche. It's among the top 10 blockchains right now. So I work as a security consultant for them for a few months. And that's where, I realized maybe it's time to go on my own. So I started, Shields, where we do both, we do manual audits, pen testing of smart contracts, as well as we are building a tool called Solidity Scan, which is, if you are in security, you can understand the terms, tools like Acunetics, Nessus or something like that. So we are build contracts. We call it Solidity Scan. So that's pretty much for the journey right now.
Thank you for elaborating on that part. So you mentioned that in 2013 you got Google Hall of Fame as one of your achievements, right? So how was your experience? Like, was this your first or first few bugs, or was it after learning about 50 something bugs that you were able to get on the Hall of Fame for Google?
Okay, so journey was very interesting because back then there was very fewer information, like knowledge was very limited. Credits to people who disclose their vulnerabilities now, it was not that much back then. So there were very limited articles. So I mean, my first bug was actually I was parallelly hunting on PayPal, Google, and Facebook. And I started with Facebook actually, but did not get lucky there. To be very honest, that time, my knowledge was also very limited. So my first bug in Google was a cross-site scripting in one of their acquisitions. Waze is a platform, Google. So I had a cross-site scripting there. So that was valid one. I went through multiple duplicates. So when I first heard about bug bounties, it actually took me like 3 to 4 months, I guess, to find my first bug. But after that, it was like a rolling stone. So my next bounty was from PayPal, and then and then it went on and on. So Uh, so yeah, I mean, it's like that's was journey. But yes,
That's
Google's was my first valid vulnerability, like non-duplicate. Google was the first one.
so you found cross-site scripting on Google,
Was-
some subsidy for Google. Uh,
It was Google's acquisition company called Waze. So
that's a Google Map kind of
yeah,
application, right?
it was like it's a map. Google Waze is map. It's quite popular in a few other
Mm-hmm.
countries. And I think
Right.
even my second bounty, which was from PayPal, it was for multiple cross-site scripting. So that was something, it's like it was pretty easy to find that time, and plus it's like I knew how to do that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that was a good one.
So
Yeah, I mean,
simple
it's like
check, is it?
to be very honest, it was very hard to find SQL injections in Google.
Mm-hmm.
That there used to be
Definitely.
SQL injections, but I did find SQL injection and a path transversal in Nokia when Nokia announced its bug bounty program where they would give you their latest
Mm-hmm.
high-end phones for a critical bug. So my target was like, okay, here cross-site scripting won't work out. So I had like I remember 2 SQL injections. I got 4 phones, so 4 criticals. Uh, I remember one, the path transversal was on Nokia maps. And
Mm-hmm.
then there was a stored cross-site scripting in Nokia's email app, which was for Symbian OS. So they made it an exception because
Mm-hmm.
it could be widely exploited. So that one, and 2 were SQL injections.
Actually, this is very good. Like in Nokia, especially that time, it had been very popular phone,
Yeah.
right? And finding that was impactful because of the user base. So, and what was, when you first reported it, was there a process which was set in order to, have this vulnerability disclosure procedure basically with Nokia?
Yes, I mean it's like they had their vulnerability disclosure page where they
Hmm.
mentioned that okay, this is where on that particular email. I think way back in 2013, 14, 15, it was simple. They had it's like a security email, and that's where you send an email. Google
Hmm.
was the only one which asked for a Google form. I mean, it's like it was a form where you had different, it's like sections where you have to fill, but it
Right.
was like pretty easy. But I
Hmm.
think things have changed a lot now. It's more
Exactly.
professional and it's more detailed, and I think that is how it should be. Uh, I mean, if I see my report writing skills way back in 2013, it was very poor. uh, Now it's like at least there are standards, so that's nice.
People hate report writing. So definitely we'll ask your tips also on report writing in some follow-up questions. But before this, like, what was the first point where you started exploring bug bounty? What was the motivation to
Oh,
pursue
yes.
this path? Yeah.
It was a lucky transition, I guess. So there was an incident where, it's like, so I was studying in Sainik school. I was in army school. So
Okay.
there, it's like during our vacations, I was in the basketball team. So, that time
Okay.
G Talk was very, it's like new.
Mm.
So I used to, after dinner, I used to, just chat with my school captain, like my basketball team captain on, it's like on Orkut. And time, it's like I was talking to him, and suddenly he didn't come online for 3 days. And the 4th day, he came up with a new ID, and he told me that okay, his account was hacked. And
Oh.
we still, whenever he's a super senior to me, so whenever we talk, it's like we laugh on that.
Hmm.
That was a turning point in my life. So
Okay.
we figured out that it was something called as a phishing attack. So I started, it's like I was very curious that how can something be hacked? Like it's my password, how someone else can have access to my.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with phishing. I learned phishing on my own. So I realized that for that I need to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So I
Right.
taught myself. Computer was not even my subject. So
Oh,
I
okay.
taught myself. It's like buying books, secondhand books. Uh, so yeah, I mean, it's like I remember. So yeah, so I'm originally from Bihar. So in Patna, there is a place near Gandhi Maidan where they sell, it's like second-hand books. It was very cheaper, so I saved some money, and then I bought a book for HTML and JavaScript, and uh, and I learned it, and then I started designing my own phishing pages. I learned about hosting and everything. Yes, I mean that time it was just it's like just sending it to friends for fun, and then telling
Fun.
them, okay, this is your password. And that time it's like now if you do this, it's a severe crime. But that time social media were not taken seriously, so
Yeah.
we would just it's like it was just like showing a magic trick to someone that, oh, you know what, I know your password. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean it's like I did that during that time, and then what happened was there was another turning point. Was I used to read this magazine called Digit Magazine.
Mhm.
So they had a special edition where they mentioned about web hacking, and then I got to know, okay, even websites can be hacked. It's just not that you fish someone to get the passwords. You can actually hack an entire website.
Right.
And there it was mentioned about SQL injections and everything. And so I started learning about it. And then when I heard that, okay, you can get paid for that,
Mhm.
that's where I got into bug bounties.
So, like before 2013, or it can be 1 or 2 years before that, you got exposure to cybersecurity in the
Uh,
school time.
yeah, I
Is that
think
right?
I made my first phishing page when I was in class 9. So that should be 2011 or 10, I guess.
Wow. So I think you were one of the early starters. At least in India, if you see, there is a very small, there is a small circle of like more experienced cybersecurity professional. So you can be from one of those, early starters in
Yeah, you
the
can say that. I mean,
cybersecurity
there
field.
are people earlier than me, and I really respect them, like Rahul Shashi from
Mm-hmm.
Sec, and then Sandeep Kamble
Mm-hmm.
from, it's like from Secure Layer 7, and then there are Aditya Gupta and few others. So they are all entrepreneurs now.
Right.
Uh, but yes, they were well before me in Google Hall of Fame page, like a year or 2 years back.
Mm-hmm.
So I
So
am.
did you also follow them at that point, or?
Yes, I mean, I have met them in real life later on, and then I told them
Mm-hmm.
that, okay, when I saw some Indian names in, it's like Google
Hall of
Hall of
Fame
Fame
for.
page, I
Mm-hmm.
realized that, okay, this is possible. It's not just, it's like,
So
it
that
can,
gave you the confidence,
yes,
like
exactly.
boosting up them. Actually, this was my next question, like because nowadays students are, they get discouraged because the resources which are used up in bug bounty hunting and the time that goes in that. It's sometimes it is not ensuring that they will get any rewards. So because of that lack of assurity of rewards, students tend to lose interest in bug bounty, and they think whether it should be a full-time career or not, and what time they should spend. So when was this moment for you where you got a bit of discouraged, feeling that whether it's going to give you good returns or not, and how did you overcome that? What built your confidence?
To be very honest, I have heard these, it's like when I interact with, students, they say
Mm-hmm.
that, it's like you started very early and then that time there were a lot of bugs. But then it
They
is
will
not
say.
the case. It is not the case. So the thing is, it's like when I started, definitely there were more bugs, but
Mm-hmm.
there were less information as well. Like
Exactly.
the study materials were very less. So, but now there are more study materials. So today, if you want to start into security, you can spend 4 or 5 months and you can learn everything. Way back
Mm-hmm.
in my time, uh, just to figure out how cross-site scripting is exploited or how to it's like show an impact, it took me months to understand. Today you can understand it in an hour or something.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's like there is a difference, but um, for me, it was, it's like I realized one thing with bug bounty is that people get, it's like when they find bugs, they get too excited. And
Mm-hmm.
when they, when the rewards are not as, does not meet their
Yeah.
expectation, or it's a duplicate, or, it's like, was something, it was, it's like it was not appreciated as per your expectation. That's where, it's like the demoralizations comes into place.
Right.
So I had this, it's like in a very early, it's like during my bug bounty time, because that time was a time when bug bounty was growing, and their responses were very slow. So I mean, I remember my AT&T bounty did not get a single response, and after a year, suddenly they said that, okay, we are paying you this much money, and
Wow.
so these things happen. So
Yeah.
I made a simple, it's like note was I just find bugs. I enjoy finding bugs. I just
Mm.
report them and I forget it. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a time, it's like a very long time, it's like 2 3 years. How it used to work was every day I used to submit reports,
Mm.
and every day I was getting bounties. So the reason was because those reports were like 4 months back, 3 months back. So I was happy that every day I'm getting some, some surprise bounties. Like every day you wake up with a bounty on your name. So, and that's where I started enjoying it. I just, it's like I just used to report and then, it's like forget about it. So,
Right.
so the best thing is to, it's like control your emotions and just, just do
Keep
your work.
trying. Hmm.
Just do your work. Enjoy finding bugs rather than, it's like, being
Expecting something
monetary
different.
rewards. You
Hmm.
should be having fun with the bugs. I think that should be the mindset.
Yeah, actually, I saw in your bug crowd profile that you, I think, found 90 to 100 bounties bugs in the year 2013, right? So, what was that time like where you were reporting the bugs back to back every day? So, how much time did you end up spending?
I used to do that whole day because I was in class 11th that time, and
Mm-hmm.
I was in Delhi, and I used to go to it's like Fitzy for my it's like engineering class, like engineering entrance exam preparation,
Mm-hmm.
which I was completely not focusing on it, like all the time. I mean, it's like apart from eating and doing my a bit of my homework, which even with the
Right.
homework I was not very honest with, and most of the time I was doing that, so I was spending a lot of time so yeah.
That totally makes sense. So eventually the main message is like you don't focus on the money or the monetary outcome. It is interest in learning about the concepts of security, and that itself is the rewarding factor that you are learning something every day. And maybe there will be a surprise if yeah, there is a valid report you have submitted. It will definitely come back at some point, at least as a Hall of Fame, not necessarily as a monetary reward,
Yeah,
right?
yes. I mean, and also there are a few other things which I tell to people is not to compare yourself with others. So the thing is, when you focus on learning, it's like you keep learning, and
Mm-hmm.
your happiness comes from finding a good bug. Like when you get happy when you find a creative finding.
Right.
What we see is most people, who are starting, try to just read public reports
Hmm.
and try to find it some other places,
Replicate the
good,
same thing.
which
Hmm.
is good, that's a good way of learning. But then you should understand that, especially for low priority vulnerabilities, it's not every company rewards that issue. Like
Right.
well, this was the problem we used to face as a triager at HackerOne as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there used to be a bounty on a very low priority bug which most of the companies don't want to accept, and then we'll see it's like reports coming for all the platforms, like, and they don't want to accept it, and
Right.
then there will be a comparison that okay, that company paid and this company didn't pay. But the fact
Mm-hmm.
is, like for low priority vulnerabilities, it doesn't work like that. For it depends on business to business until unless it's critical or high. So
Mm-hmm.
that understanding we should have, and always look for something creative rather than the common ones. And
Exactly. That. So how, based on this, I think totally it makes sense. Like if you keep on repeating the same things, you are not making the learning path changing for yourself. So in your experience, like how many different type of, or interesting bugs you found every time, which were different from the previous findings. So if you have some idea in your mind that yeah, almost these are the new things you tried.
yeah, I mean, it's like a sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So what I used to do was like initially I was very good at injection related bugs, so I used
Mm-hmm.
to find a lot of them. But then when this Node.js framework started coming up, I'm talking about the PHP days when like injection were
Mm-hmm.
prevalent. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's like when Node.js came into picture, we realized that most of the injection vulnerabilities are
Right.
like it's
Framework, it is addressed in the
framework
framework.
protected from framework.
Mm-hmm.
So this happened during my college days. So I realized that okay, it's like most of the new scopes which I see is more about Node.js application. So what I
Mm-hmm.
started was like I started learning the framework. I taught myself Node.js, MongoDB, how it interacts with each other, and then I realized that okay, Mongo is like I mean Node.js has it's like more access control related vulnerabilities are prevalent there. So so yeah, I mean it's like I started focusing more on business logic, and then I understood it's like how you can their session management works, and what kind of one. So when you do some dev works, right, about
Mm-hmm.
a framework, you get to it's like no. So my way of finding bugs was more about it's like learning something new, like new framework or something, which nobody is has like focused on.
Explored.
And that's how it was. Like, if you see, my last bounty was on Cosmos, which is
Yeah.
one. So again, it was Golang. It was in Golang. It's a very simple race condition, to be very honest. It's a classic race, where the uh, transaction is being made, and then the balance check is also being done in the same function. So if
Right.
you just initiate multiple threads, you can send tokens more than the max limit. It was a critical finding, which was rewarded on HackerOne. But if you see, the difference why not others found it was because I was learning the Cosmos blockchain that time, and it's completely written in Golang, and you have to
Right.
understand mechanisms of how the blockchain works and how transaction happens and everything. So I mean, that has been one of my ways to find bugs, is to just pick a new architecture, a new framework or something, and just get a reward in that
Definitely.
is looking into it.
Actually, that's the interesting part about cybersecurity field. Like, it's never ending. New technologies are coming up, so
So
you deep dive into new things, and anything which is not explored by many people and it's very new, there you'll get more scope of finding bugs as well. So that's one thing which we can the audience can take away from here, that at least explore things even if it is new. Challenging, it can also be challenging. Try to explore more, because learning and deep diving more will give you more bugs, possibility of bugs, valid bugs being
yeah, and
reported.
especially new frameworks and new technologies are always vulnerable. They are mostly missing
Exactly.
very basic things. And this happened with, like, I think during COVID times, I
Mm-hmm.
thought of learning something new, so I picked Electron. It's like I realized that
Okay.
all the applications, like desktop applications, are now being built on Electron JS. So,
Right.
and it was easy for me to learn because I knew Node.js, so it's just another
Mm-hmm.
framework. And it's like I got a lot of bounties on that as well, because that time the problem was with Electron JS was, by default, it has all its security configurations disabled, which now
Right.
it's a very different case. In their newest release, they have disabled everything from before. So what used to happen was, like, if you have a stored XSS, it's
Mm-hmm.
RCE. So
Yeah.
but now they have, it's like fixed everything, like from default. They have started sandboxing it. They set security features enabled from before. So yeah, I mean, it's like that's one way of doing it. There can be multiple ways, but this was my favorite way of doing it.
Which is the latest platform which you have, taken up for any research?
Yes, these days, because of my company, I'm mostly, working on, smart
Blockchain.
contracts and
Mm-hmm.
blockchain related products. So, I mean, I haven't got much time to do bug bounties, but yes, I mean, it's like the recent one was Cosmos one, and then, it's like I just realized it has almost been like 6-7 months. I haven't found any bug. So
Yeah.
I
Fear,
I
fear
and
of missing.
yeah, I and my it's like my teammate Aditya, we sat and we have a finding which we want to disclose. It's just that it has been fixed, but the Hall of
Oh,
Fame page has
okay.
not been updated yet. So we'll do a blog post about that. It's a very
Definitely.
nice bug where we use smart contracts to execute a cross-site scripting on our platform.
Mm-hmm.
So we will publish it. It's just we are waiting for them to update the Hall of Fame page.
That's great. That's great that we are getting a glimpse of it from the
For sure.
podcast.
Then I'll post it on LinkedIn probably.
Yeah,
So yes.
waiting for that update, definitely. And from the like you have mentioned, you have learned so many things, so many new frameworks. Is there any framework which you think was challenging? So you thought like you don't want to give it a try, so you skip to the little bit more easier one. So was there such example of difficult, challenging platforms as well?
I haven't quit yet. I mean, it's like, if you talk about quitting, I did quit a couple of them, but the reasons were very different. So
Mm-hmm.
during COVID, I was also exploring, it's like IoT security. But
Mm-hmm.
then I started reading, reading about it. But then I realized, I won't be able to capitalize on top of that, because I don't think I'm going to get projects on that. So
Mm-hmm.
because it was mostly hardwares and everything.
Right.
So that is the reason I didn't move ahead. I just read few things, and it's like I had some smart appliances which I wanted to explore, but then I
Yeah.
realized I'm never going to capitalize on that. It's gonna remain, the research is gonna remain to my house itself. I left that and moved towards Electron JS and then Kubernetes security. That's something I did.
Mm-hmm.
Both were very useful, and then I think the most challenging one I had worked on was actually blockchain security. So it is
Mm-hmm. That
challenging
sounds familiar.
because there are still, I mean, to be very honest, there are still things which I haven't figured out yet. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it includes, it's like mathematics from PhD level.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's like you have to, just see the overview, but you know that you
Mm-hmm.
don't know in depth of it. But then you at least know the overview. So yes, it is challenging, but it's fun. I mean, it's like it's good. And even for like my first, it's like research, like when I started into blockchain security and smart contracts, I did on Avalanche itself. So Avalanche had a bug bounty program.
Mm-hmm.
How I got the job there as well while I was
Mm-hmm.
working with them. So I found two critical vulnerabilities in Avalanche chain itself, which allowed me to, one allowed me to toss the chain, other allowed me to actually completely delete the chain.
Oh,
Like the entire blockchain halts, and
right.
I was appreciated for that, and I was rewarded for that as well. But
Mm-hmm.
it took me almost like 15, 20 days to understand. So the way is it's every time how it is. The best thing about blockchain is, it's like you can contact people there directly because everything is open source, everything is
Yeah,
coming.
that's true.
So I literally, it's like went to the Discord channel and just ping their devs that, okay, these are my findings. Can you, it's like help me here, what is happening here?
Right.
And to be, it's like, to be honest, they did respond to it. And when I
Wow.
found the bug, they appreciated that. So yeah, it took me like 15, 20 days. I did a local setup of entire blockchain of their
Mm-hmm.
testnet blockchain, and then validated my theory of source code audit. What I did, that
Right.
okay, this might be a vulnerability, but the code is very huge, and within 15 days
Hmm.
you can figure out where
Hmm.
the restrictions are placed somewhere else.
Right. Right.
So I deployed the chain completely in my VBox and then validated my theory and then created a
Okay.
POC and then sent it to them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's like that's how it works, and it's, you have to spend time. That's it. Even
Right.
it's
Right.
like all the EVM chains, like
Hmm.
which is based on EVM, like Ethereum virtual machine. They are all written in Solidity. So Solidity is the most popular programming language there. But
Mm-hmm.
Solana's framework came up with a Rust-based programming
Mm-hmm.
language. So Rust is applicable to Solana ecosystem. Solana, Near, Polkadot, they are all based on Rust-based
Yeah.
smart contracts. But all the EVM chains like Avalanche, Binance Chain, Polygon, they are all on Solidity. And sometimes people use Viper as well, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
common. But Solidity is the most popular one. So yes, I mean, even inside blockchain, it's a huge research area. It's like
Exactly.
completely different
Actually,
as
well,
well.
what are the tips you want to give to the students? Because nowadays they are just focusing on the word hacking. Okay, that's a buzzword. So they focus on it. They use some tools for finding low-hanging fruits, and they focus on the result rather than understanding the fundamentals. So, in your experience, have you seen this gap in the upcoming, students, upcoming researchers? And what are the tips you want to give to the students on that?
I mean, this thought process is, what it differentiates, it's like a more successful bug hunter than a lesser one. It's
Mm-hmm.
like their, it's like their, mental state, it's like their to, approach things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very, it's like a common thing, what happens is like when you see someone getting $500 and then your entire aim is to, it's like replicate the same bug and get the $500.
Mm-hmm.
Then that doesn't, it's like give you, it's like the future success because, it's like they are low hanging fruits and you will get frustrated because either it's a duplicate or the team doesn't want to fix it. But
Mm-hmm.
for if you want to sustain in longer run, you want to play a longer game.
Mm-hmm.
It's never a sprint; it's a marathon. So
Right.
you have to work on your skills. Try to find as many vulnerabilities as possible. And I still believe the best way to find vulnerabilities is not just to find the common ones. It's to deeper into the web applications or mobile application, or whatever your target is. It doesn't matter. You
Mm-hmm.
dig deeper, you try to understand what the platform does. Okay, read about
Mm-hmm.
it, read the documentations. If they have a public video, watch that. Try to understand what the business does, and then when you try to find bugs, you'll find something unique, which is platform specific. I mean, what we call as like business logic bugs.
Right.
If you, and even like for common bugs as well, like if you understand the platform well, you will, you'll be finding better, it's like privilege escalations or something like that, because you know what different privileges are there.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something what I would suggest is like just because everyone is running tools, to be very honest. So if you found a bug by a tool and it got validated, you have just been lucky. That's it. I mean, it's like
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh,
It's a race now.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be true every time.
Mm-hmm.
It will fetch you bounties, but it's not going to be it's like 100% achievement all the time. So yeah, I mean, it's like just dig deeper, spend more time, and understand the business. If you don't understand anything, like for example, you're approaching a web application and there is some technology which you see in it which you don't know about, just go ahead and say Google about it. Try to learn, try to see similar reports related to that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how, when you explore more, you have to increase your attack surface. That's it. Like the first thing you have to do is like you have to increase your attack surface. So when you have a better attack surface, you have better chances of finding a valid one. So yes, that should be the approach.